You know what? They called it SeaBed, and I've already seen the bed. It delivered.
Is that your takeaway from all this? That's what your takeaway is? That there's a bed and you see... Okay.
I turned the handle to stop the rain. Several drops of water trailed down my body and fell onto the bathroom floor. The faint afternoon glow filtered in through the small bathroom window and met the steam inside, blanketing the room in a pale blue light. A rubber duck was floating in the half-filled bathtub I'd forgotten to unplug. After gazing at it for a few moments through half-shut eyes, I lifted a towel off the rack and left the bathroom while scrubbing my skin with the thing. Once I felt dry enough for comfort, I put on the underwear I'd left on the dryer. Ouch! I hit my shin against a box in the corridor while drying my hair. I raised my hurt leg and proceeded to hop the rest of the way on one foot, kicking a roll of packing tape out of the way in the process. Out of the multiple boxes in the corridor, the one I collided with had yet to be fastened. Takako's sunflower-themed shirt stared back at me from inside. I opened the door at the end of the corridor and upon entering the living room, turned left to the kitchen and peeked into the fridge. After grabbing a bottle of barley tea from inside, I closed the fridge's door. I took a glass cup from the cupboard, filled it up with tea, and gulped its contents down in a single breath. After refilling my cup and returning the bottle to the fridge, I continued to the living room with glass in hand, where I picked up the remote from the table and flicked on the TV. I pulled out the makeup box and the hairdryer from the cabinet and made myself comfortable on the sofa. I began drying my hair, catching only short bits and pieces of what the news anchor on TV was saying. Finishing that, I changed into a pair of jeans and a colorful tunic before finally leaving the house.
Oh, that'll be 300 yen.
I placed the coins I had prepared as I waited in line into the tray.
Thank you very much.
The clerk took care of the basket while I picked up the paper bag. I left the general store and continued down the sidewalk. It was now illuminated by a slightly stronger light compared to the morning. As the traffic signal between the police station and the department store lit up in green, a mass of people who had been waiting for it jerked forward like a wave. As I tried to overtake a man in front of me, our shoulders bumped. It seemed like the amount of people doubled here during afternoons. I continued crossing the street, looking down at the shoes of the people ahead of me as my paper bag bumped into someone to my side. I stopped and placed my paper bag into my handbag.
You'll get hit by a car if you keep spacing out in the middle of the street, Sachi.
I raised my face in response to clearly hearing my name. However, the person to whom that voice belonged was nowhere to be seen. I turned to a narrow alley between two large buildings, leaving the street behind me. As I continued on, I glanced at my wristwatch. Seeing the time, I decided to hasten my pace. A pacin, as it were.
Paston? Paste bin? We can workshop this one.
The bell above the cafe's door gave off an energetic chime as I stepped inside. As the establishment's front door was down a short flight of stairs below street level, it naturally had no windows and was dimly lit inside. The wall lights would be on all the time, coloring the interior in red and orange. I continued further into the shop, my footsteps silenced by the lush carpet. Sitting at a round table next to a wall behind a row of low handrails barely reaching to my waist, a red-haired woman, Narasaki Hibiki, raised a hand to catch my attention.
Yo, over here.
I went up the steps to her table as she folded the newspaper she had been reading. I thought I came early.
My appointment today finished it early, so I thought I might as well come over ahead of you.
There was an empty milk pack, a half-finished cup of coffee, and what looked like a cake plate in front of Narasaki. There was nothing but a silver paper and a few crumbs left on it. Narasaki wore a
Oh, sorry.
coat over her pale blouse and skirt.
I'm going for the Okabe Rintaro look.
Fair enough. You came in your work clothes?
They're the best clothes I have.
I sat down facing her. The dim light from the walls fell on her white coat, dyeing it a pale hue of orange. So you really did become a doctor?
Well, you didn't believe me?
Narasaki stretched her back. It suits you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Narasaki curled her lips slightly, letting out one of her characteristic sighs. I hope I didn't ruin your schedule by contacting you out of nowhere.
Don't worry about it. It's been a while since we've last seen each other, so I was curious about you myself.
When was it? Back in elementary school?
You don't remember?
I narrowed my eyes, scanning through my memories, but Narasaki gave me a dismissive wave of the hand.
It's okay. It's not like it was anything important.
If you say so. The waiter placed a cup of steaming coffee in front of me. He then placed a cupful of sugar cubes and a small milk bottle next to it before wordlessly returning to the counter. I stirred my coffee with a spoon, creating a miniature whirlpool in the middle as I poured some milk into it. My small white whirlpool kept on spinning. As I sat there, satisfied with my whirlpool, I heard Narasaki chuckle. What?
Oh, don't mind me.
Her eyes were fixed on my hand, stirring the white coffee. I left the spoon on the tray and took a sip from my coffee, letting its familiar bitterness spread across my mouth. I felt as though Narasaki was snickering at me again.
They have good cakes here.
Do you want me to guess what you've ordered?
Try your luck.
A rare green tea flavored cheesecake.
How did you know?
You can tell from the wrapping paper.
Oh.
Narasaki picked up her own cup. Did you like it?
Yeah, particularly the cream. I wonder if they use condensed milk with it or something. Tasted a bit like the mochi ice cream they sell back home.
Now that you mention it, that sure brings back memories.
You think they make their cakes here?
No, they bring them over from the cake shop next door. It's part of the same brand.
Did we swap again?
I don't know.
Well, if you liked it, you could buy something there on your way home. I'd personally recommend the sunflower.
What kind of cake is that?
It's a fruit cake with a chocolate base. Lots of cream in it, too.
I see. Maybe I'll check it out.
I recommend it.
As the background music that filled the shop slowly faded out, a melody of some classical piece soon took its place. Narasaki looked around the shop. Something wrong?
I just thought it was pretty convenient for a cafe and a confectionery to pair up like this.
Does such a thing as inconvenient pairing even exist?
Well, there's a place near where I live that runs both a cafe and a barber shop.
I love it when businesses do that, where it's two wildly inconsistent things that are just stuck together, and they've somehow been around for 50 years. Just like, oh yeah, he brews a mean cup of joe and also knows how to trim a mean beard.
I guess you can enjoy a drink while you get your hair done, but thinks there's little point in going there if all you want is a cup of coffee, right?
Perhaps they have something to make it compelling. You can never tell unless you go check it out yourself.
I guess it needs further investigation then.
Glancing at my wristwatch, I noticed how almost half an hour had already passed.
We've only been chatting for half an hour, so don't worry.
Seems so, yeah.
You keep checking the time. Are you in a hurry or something?
Does it look that way? I thought it was normal. I should have contacted you earlier, but you always end up having some sort of work pile up at the worst of times.
Are you busy?
I've had my hands full lately, yes.
With work?
Yes.
I heard you were in the design business.
That's right, I'm running my own company. Who told you?
Good question. I don't quite remember anymore.
I see.
Is your office nearby?
Yes.
And you can make a living off it, huh?
I get by. I'm getting less offers compared to before the economy crashed, but There's still enough of a demand.
Huh.
Well, it's just me and 3 employees, so it brings in enough money to sustain 4 people at least.
So you're saying you're getting less offers, but you're actually getting busier?
Pretty much. Things got more hectic after Takako disappeared. It wasn't easy finding someone to fill her spot.
Disappeared?
Yes. Do you remember her?
Remember the 3 of us playing together when we were kids, yeah.
Yes, that's her. We even started the company together, but then she goes and vanishes without a trace during a crucial time like this. Just how uncontrollable can she be? She drives me insane sometimes. Nagasaki let out a small chuckle.
I see you've got your plate full.
You can say that again.
You're not feeling exhausted lately, are you?
Have I been acting strange or something?
Nah, not really, but you've always had trouble saying no to people. I mean, we made you act as class president and run the club as well. I was worried you might be putting too much burden on yourself again.
You didn't make me do anything. I did all that voluntarily.
Well, in any case, overworking yourself is a surefire way to build up stress.
I suppose you're right, but I'm not stressed out. My job is pretty much my hobby anyway.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
You work at a psychiatry clinic around here, right? Nagasaki, still holding her coffee cup, shifted her eyes from the menu to me.
Yes, I do.
So, you listen to people with mental problems like schizophrenia or chronic depression, analyze them and give them advice on what to do? Something along those lines?
I see you're watching the same TV shows as me. We have a case or two like that once in a blue moon, sure, but most of our patients are senile old folks who come to talk about their grandkids or housewives complaining about their daily chores and husbands. Usually all you have to do is fix their problems. To fix their problems is hear them out.
Hard to believe the girl we played doctor with as kids actually became one. Nagasaki ran her hand across her face.
Our little clinic is hardly an establishment to brag about, really. There's a big hospital nearby, so we get very few people.
You've wanted to become a doctor ever since then?
Who knows? Maybe. I don't quite remember.
Nagasaki placed the empty coffee cup back on the tray.
I just like observing people. I believe that nothing happens without a reason after all. So when someone starts raving or acting in a contradiction to common sense, I can't help getting curious about its underlying cause. Probably the main reason why I became a psychiatrist after all.
I see.
So I thought you wanted my help with something.
Once we were done engaging in small talk about our jobs, Nagasaki swiftly shifted to the main subject at hand. Did you have any patients suffering from hallucinations?
A few. Are you seeing any?
I think it's probably because of exhaustion, but... Nagasaki slowly leaned her head forward, seemingly deep in thought. Her forehead almost touched the cup on the tray. Do you remember the fits I had as a child?
You had fits.
Did I never tell you? Well, my ears would sometimes begin ringing, and nothing I did would make it go away. Nagasaki paused for a few moments, and after giving me a brief look, parted her lips to speak.
Now that you mention it, I think I remember you telling me that. Ringing in the ears, huh?
She mused. Yeah, I thought it would drive me crazy.
Well, that could be explained by acoustic hyperesthesia. Can you tell me about how exactly it would manifest?
At times, I'd wake up at night and hear all the sounds around me as if they were amplified. I'd feel like my head could burst at any second. The shorter fits would pass after a few minutes, but some of the longer ones could go on for over half an hour. I realized my right hand was unconsciously touching my ear. I stopped having them around elementary school, but they came back recently.
Oh, you might want to make a visit to an ornithologist. Please don't visit an ornithologist. That is not who you need to visit. You might want to make a visit to an otornithologist, just in case.
I've already been to one, and they couldn't find anything wrong with my birds. Though they told me to come back if the symptoms grew worse.
Listen, I'm sorry, okay?
Nagasaki regarded me in complete silence and stillness.
Will you?
Neither the ringing nor its frequency changed at all, but I also started hearing Takako's voice in its place. Why does it sometimes... Is that the blue instead of the green? Or no, I'm just seeing shit.
What?
The triangle for going to the next thing.
Yes, it is, because now we're on Sachiko mode.
But it was green for most of this time.
Was it?
Yeah. Hit it again. Nagasaki slightly furrowed her brows. That's green.
I think it's green when there's more to see in the page, and then it's purple when it skips to the next page.
And you're sure it's not just your imagination?
I can hear it very clearly. I emphasized the word clearly.
Yeah, it's just green for there's more on this page than purple for the next page.
Do you think it's an auditory hallucination? Nagasaki inhaled a breath and crossed her legs again.
Well, if you hear something that cannot possibly be there, then that would probably be classified as that, yeah. I guess an otorhinologist couldn't help you with that.
And can you?
Auditory hallucinations can be a symptom of schizophrenia, but based on our little chat today, I'm not seeing anything in you that would support such a diagnosis. Doesn't seem to be having a severely adverse effect on your lifestyle either. You appear perfectly aware of the fact that they are hallucinations.
In short...
I think you might just be exhausted.
I see.
I've had a lot of folk with work-related adjustment disorders lately. Most of those can be cured with a few weeks of vacation. You should probably not worry about it too much unless it starts affecting your life.
So it's best if I don't think too much about it.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. I understand. Thanks. I feel a bit better now.
If those voices of you become worse for whatever reason and you get worried again, you can always come straight to my clinic.
With that, she stuck a hand in her pocket and pulled out a business card. Nagasaki Mental Clinic. Psychiatrist Nagasaki Hibiki. It had the address written on the other side. That's the clinic from the tips.
It is.
And the room that with the books and so on that's in there, that sounds like a description of the room that Sachiko was talking about when she was a kid. So that's weird.
The room she was talking about when she was a kid.
She was talking about a room that was that had a big case of books.
A big case of books, yep.
And it sounded like it was talking about the same case of books. Maybe I'm reading too much into that.
But also,
but why would it
dishes and plates and stuff.
Yeah.
Could I get your card too, if that's all right?
I wonder if I have any left. I picked up my handbag from the sofa and pulled out my card holder. However, no matter where I looked, I couldn't find any of my cards. I'm sorry.
Don't sweat it, but remember to keep one on you for the next time we meet.
Okay.
And I'll want to hear more about your work as well.
If that's what you want. Realizing that my coffee cup was empty, I promptly pulled my hand back. The chair let out a low creak as Nagasaki crossed her legs again.
What time is it?
I instinctively glanced at my wristwatch again. 8:30.
Oh, that late already.
This place has neither a clock nor windows, so...
I guess that's just how they roll. I hear they're underground. Get it? Alright, I'll stop. I'm sorry.
Nagasaki picked up her wallet from the table and, after glancing at the receipt and taking out the amount indicated, returned it to the handbag she kept next to her. Going already?
I've still got to drop by my clinic tonight.
I see.
Well, what about you?
Lifting her handbag from the seat, Nagasaki gave me a brief glance. I think I'll relax for a few more minutes. Hearing that, Nagasaki made a short pause before speaking up again.
It's been a while since I had fun like this.
Me too.
About what we discussed. Remember, if you're still worried, you can always come by my clinic.
Thanks, I'll do that. Takako's totally dead, isn't she? Takako's dead, and Sachiko is not adjusted to it well.
Okay.
And is like she is way less well adjusted than it seems here. She thinks that Takako is totally still alive and just disappeared. How uncontrollable can you be? And just hearing her voice and so on as she gradually starts to lose her grip. That's my theory.
That's your theory?
Is going on here.
Okay.
I don't have any idea how that ties into the fucking tip scene. I have nothing there.
Okay. keep in mind, I haven't seen all. I do know
Yeah.
some things that come up.
Yeah, like don't tell
So
me
I'm
if
not-
I'm
I'm
right
not-
or wrong, but
Yeah, I'm not going to start really
That's what
chiming
I'm-
in with my own thoughts until we get
Yeah.
a little bit deeper into it. Because
but I'll chime in with mine.
there are a couple of things that get shown pretty tidily. So
I spent some time absent-mindedly gazing at the empty space in front of me that Nagasaki used to occupy. After shifting my gaze to the empty cup, I finally stood up, picked up the receipt, and continued to the counter to pay for my drink. The streets outside were already covered in darkness, with the neon signs of shops illuminating my way. I turned around and saw myself reflected in the window glass. There were faint black spots below my eyes, making me look a bit like a ghost.
I mean, it certainly would explain why she's in like the funeral garb at the very beginning of that scene.
I grabbed a pack of iced coffee from the fridge and filled my flower-patterned cup, then returned to the office with cup in hand. The office itself was a small cream-colored room with 5 office desks crammed into it. 4 of the desks faced each other, while the last one was slightly further away, positioned by the window. I headed toward that particular desk, sat down, and proceeded to turn on my computer. Sipping coffee with one hand, while typing my password with the other, I listened to Takako nibble on her 10th or so candy.
I probably shouldn't be having this much, but you know what? I have no self-control.
Takako, her eyes fixed on the documents, reached out toward a transparent glass jar resting next to her monitor. It was filled with colorful candies. She nimbly undid its cap and, avoiding the lemon-colored ones, picked a candy with an apple design on its wrapping. After unwrapping the thing, she quickly chucked it into her mouth,
Ow. Ow.
and started nibbling on it. Soon enough, she casually thrust her hand into the jar again and pulled out a lemon-colored one.
Help! I've lost control.
Her hand stopped as she noticed the color of its wrapping.
Huh? Hey, you want a candy, Fumi?
Takako addressed the employee sitting in front of her, Oita Fumi. Fumi shifted her gaze to Takako, knitting her eyebrows.
How many of those can you eat in a day, anyway? The sound you make when you're chewing is bothering me.
I'm always sleepy past noon. If I don't eat something, I might just fall asleep.
Your sugar intake must be off the charts. Don't come crying to me when you gain weight, huh?
It's okay. My brain burns all the sugar anyway. To me, candies are like coal to a steam engine.
She let out a hearty guffaw.
Guffaw!
Figuring that I'd seen enough, I rose from my desk and drew closer to them. I picked up the candy bottle from the table. I'll be confiscating this.
Yeah, you better. Oh, but that's my fuel.
Takako spun around as Fumi made a crooked smile behind her back. The sound you make is bothering everyone. If you can't eat them in silence, then chew on this instead. I held up a piece of mint gum in front of her face. Takako opened her mouth, biting the gum straight out of my hand.
Doesn't make me feel like I've eaten anything, but I guess it's better than nothing.
I placed the candy bottle on my desk and resumed my accounting work. I gave the completely unfazed Takako an exasperated look.
I cannot be contained.
Fumi did the same.
Ah.
A chair let out a pleading creak. Takako, sitting backwards with her arms wrapped around the backrest, spun around to face another one of our employees, Inukai Takehiko.
Hey, I'm bored. Entertain me. Hey, Inukai, tell me something interesting.
There aren't many guys in this game, so I need a chance to use some of my silly guy voices. During that meeting regarding confectionery packages,
Inukai gave Fumi a quick glance.
Inukai?
Fumi, still immersed in work, murmured his name in a menacing tone. Inukai and Fumi were sitting on the reception room sofa next to each other. In front of them sat a representative from a confectionery company. Various drafts for package design ideas, brainstormed by Fumi, were lined up on the coffee table between them.
I think using a caramel case for the label of this product would be better.
Fumi pointed at the letters on the design they were all looking at. The guest cocked his head.
And so we have a design of candies interspersed between a wave of letters.
Fumi continued on her own, ignoring the two men with almost visible question marks above their heads. As Fumi finally paused and gave the silent guest a questioning look, it was as though an exclamation mark appeared above Inukai's head.
Fumi, I'm sorry, but could it mean that you meant camel case?
Caramel case.
It seems like she's been using it wrong all her life.
Not like either name makes much sense in context, you know?
Fumi raised her hands in exasperation.
Who names this stuff?
I'm going to totally start calling it caramel case at work just to annoy people.
Well, I mean, caramel at least sounds tastier, you know?
As Takako gave Fumi a patronizing look, the chime of a bell, similar to that of a school's, abruptly filled the room.
Thanks for the funny story, Inukai.
Takako stood up as the afternoon bell faded away.
Sachi, it's time for lunch.
She leaned over my monitor to stare at my face. I'm not deaf. Go ahead of me. I'll join you after I finish this.
I'll be waiting for you with a cup of tea, all right?
Oh, I'll make it.
Takako and Fumi trotted off into the kitchen, leaving Inukai and me alone in the office. Before long, I finished my papers. I pulled out a lunchbox out of my bag and stood up, noticing that Inukai was still working at his desk. Are you not going to have lunch?
Well, I'm leaving in a minute.
What's your plan for today?
I was in a bit of a seafood donbori mood.
The place is going to be full by now.
Ugh. Well, if there's no space, I'll make do with regular gyudon.
Inukai pulled a coin purse out of the jacket hanging on the back of his chair. Why don't you eat here with us for a change like you did before?
I've been here long enough to know better.
I see.
I'll join you some other time when I'm more in the mood.
Before what? Inukai pushed the office door open and left, while I continued into the reception area. Takako and Fumi were sitting on the sofa watching TV.
So anyway, then I told him it was this big. And he said, Takako, that's disgusting.
Scorpio's lucky item for today is a red umbrella. I sure sound muffled for a TV lady, huh? Said the loudly dressed woman on TV.
Man, those speakers kind of suck. We should maybe get those looked at or something. Miss Takako, they're talking about your sign again.
What? An umbrella? It's not even raining outside and... Red? Seriously? Have you seen me? You make me look like a freaking Christmas tree.
A cloudless blue sky stretched beyond the window.
Well, I'd imagine you'd stand out walking with a red umbrella on a day like this, huh?
Fumi then added,
I think you're the type to believe in fortune telling anyway. Hello.
Fumi turned to me as I closed the door behind me. The reception room had a low rectangle-shaped table and two sofas facing each other on each of its sides. The two were sitting on opposite sofas at the further end, near the TV.
I believe in it if it's good.
I sat down next to Takako.
That's Sachiko handing something to...
Here you go.
Oh, I wonder what's in it today.
I handed Takako her lunchbox. I fried yesterday's chicken leftovers with bean jam, then added the usual: scrambled eggs, fried fish, and miso soup. I placed the miso soup's flask on the table.
Chili sauce! I really like this one.
Takako was happy to see I didn't forget one of her favorites.
Yeah.
That's confusing to me because I thought we established in the last arc that Takako couldn't stand spicy foods. Am I supposed to be looking into it with this level of detail? I don't know.
Right? You don't know
Anyway.
yet. I mean, this also seems like it takes place at a completely different time, so.
Yeah, huh.
Itadakimasu.
Let's dig in. I opened my own, otherwise completely identical lunchbox and picked up the chopsticks.
Yeah, identical lunchbox. That's adorable.
Yeah. Takako was showing her lunch to Fumi.
I'm a bit jealous, to be honest. I wish Miss Sachiko made lunch for me, too.
Meanwhile, Fumi's lunchbox contained stuffed peppers, slices of boiled egg, and an entire assortment of vegetables. Cabbage, tomatoes, stuff like that. Everything was ordered to maximize the effect of the colors.
I see you always go the extra mile to make your lunches visually appealing.
Well, thank you very much.
Let's eat.
Takako chose to start with her scrambled eggs.
Nom 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 nom.
So did I, after using my chopsticks to separate my scrambled eggs into 2 smaller pieces. I popped one into my mouth. It had a slightly strong taste.
Isn't it spicier than usual?
Isn't that how you prefer it?
I mean, yeah, but
I tried the other ingredients, one after another. The chili sauce I made yesterday turned out just right. After spending some time eating, I took a sip from Fumi's tea, letting the sweet fragrance of apples tickle my nostrils.
Oh, this is Fumi.
Mm-hmm.
This brand is called London Flavor Tea. My uncle got it for me as a souvenir, and I really enjoyed it, so I figured I'd share it with you.
The sweetness and bitterness were just right, and despite the strong smell of apples, I could not identify any sourness. It tasted like a perfect cup of red tea. It's very good.
Oh, well, I left the package in the cupboard, so feel free to make it for yourselves, all right?
Takako took a sip from her own cup.
Hold on.
oh, it's bitter.
Looking at Takako's sour expression, I couldn't suppress a faint smile.
I prefer sweet apple tea.
And with that, she returned to eating her lunch. All the windows in the office were opened wide, the curtains around them quivering as the odd light breeze would find its way into the room. I could hear the uneven buzzing of cicadas, like a server machine of sorts, from outside.
Hey, can anyone else hear the cicadas cry, or is that just me? Ugh, so hot.
As I was inspecting Inukai's design at my desk, Takako paused her work and faced Fumi at the desk opposing hers. Fumi gave her a short glance, but said nothing. Inukai continued his work in silence.
Think about the time period and think about, like, they have to know the reason Takako's here is because she's banging the boss.
I didn't know these things still kept buzzing in October.
Takako picked the paper fan off her desk and started fanning herself.
Well, maybe it's global warming. El Nino, or however they called it.
Fumi finally joined the conversation.
Is that for real?
For real? I mean, don't you watch television? The news are full of these climate phenomena lately.
I recall seeing something about that last year, but if it's abnormal every year, doesn't that make the abnormality normal instead?
Summers do feel longer lately. Also, yeah, that's kind of the point, is that as we continue to do less... you know what? Never mind. You don't need me to tell you this.
Takako started fanning herself more strongly, letting out a contemplative groan.
I wonder how long it'll continue this year.
Well, they said the heat wave might continue till the end of November.
Well, then when is autumn going to come? Do your job, people.
Well, I'd appreciate it if you did yours too.
Hey, can I turn on the air conditioner?
I glanced out the window Takako had just opened. The curtains were swaying ever so faintly as a light breeze entered the room. The wind's blowing inside. You can handle a bit of hot air, can't you? I pointed at the wall next to the entrance, the place where the air conditioner's control panel was. On top of it was a sticker with the words, "Save power, save money," written on it. And wasn't it you who put that sticker on there to begin with?
Was it? Who can say?
Takako grabbed a bottle of water and started loudly gulping its contents down.
Takako is very unwilling to become an adult.
After finishing the entire bottle, she returned to work.
I don't want to actually tap on the keyboard because it's attached to the computer
Yeah.
right now. I'm not going to fully work that, but
Feel like I'm gonna melt.
Raising her hands, she leaned against her chair.
Don't worry, we'll turn on the air conditioner if you do.
Fumi addressed Takako with her eyes still glued to the monitor.
Can I take your word on that?
And we'll make sure to put what's left of you in the ice cube tray in the freezer so you can solidify again. It'll be fine.
Ah,
Takako lightly pressed her bent index finger against her jaw.
well, I don't want to become a cube. Wait, no, being a cube is fine, actually.
If you start melting, I'm vacating the premises right away.
Inukai joined the conversation as well.
Hold your goddamn horses. At least call an ambulance for me. I could be a cube.
I would appreciate it if you all would stop running your mouths and return to work.
Alright, that's it. Now I've grown conscious of the heat. I can't put it out of my mind. Not even changing my wallpaper to the cool sea is helping. I even changed the back on my solitaire deck. To the little fishies.
Well, maybe you should just try listening to some soothing music?
Fumi handed Takako a CD case over their monitors.
Oh, this is the electronic music I'm currently listening to.
Fumi pointed. Oh,
Fumi pointed at her headphones. A blast of amen breaks rattled out of them.
Electronic music? You mean the one they make with synthesizers and stuff, right? To really cool you down.
all right, so this is probably then, I want to say 90s-ish? Because listening to music while at work is a thing with headphones and on CD.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like starting around early aughts is when you start seeing the first, like, when MP3 players start becoming really
Yeah.
popular, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess this is like mid-late 90s.
Okay. Takako inspected the back of the CD case.
Oh, it's a folktronica summer special. The rhythm is inspired by the flow of water, so it makes you feel like you're cooling off under the sea.
Fumi was passionately gesticulating with her hands and head as she explained all this.
I can't focus while listening to music.
Oh, really? I'd say I'd have a harder time concentrating without it.
Fumi took out a bag from one of her desk drawers.
Well, then maybe you'd prefer this, huh?
She pulled out a small blue tube and handed it to Takako.
What's this?
Mint gel. You have to put it on your neck like this.
Fumi made a neck stroking motion.
This is me making a neck stroking motion.
And Takako imitated her movements, rubbing the gel from the tube on her neck.
Oh.
Well, how is it?
Oh, I don't feel any thin gel.
That's not how it works.
With that, Fumi returned to work.
There was probably a pun here in Japanese that they couldn't quite translate properly, but I appreciate the effort. Aren't you hot, Inukai?
Takako turned to Inukai next. Inukai's fingers, previously dancing on the keyboard at a brisk pace, had now halted.
What? I didn't notice until you mentioned it. I don't really feel it much if I concentrate on the job at hand.
Inukai readjusted his glasses.
Glasses press.
It's the problem. I can't concentrate.
Takako leaned heavily against the back of her chair.
Ah.
Well, how about you take a break and cool down?
That might be a good idea.
Pressing her hand against the back of her chair, Takako was about to stand up.
Oh, wait. They're having a sale at the grocery store today, right?
Oh, no, wait.
Wait, they're having a sale at the grocery store today, right?
Well, yeah.
What if I can make curry tonight for get home early?
Takako fell back on her seat
Let's do our best to finish on time today.
and began frantically typing at her keyboard.
Apparently she's good enough at it to keep working here. I like the idea that like 80% of her work is just her complaining and being unable to do anything, and the last 20% is just extra optimal full focus effort. Somehow still gets all of her work done in like perfectly good condition.
Somehow does nothing all day and also twice as much as everybody else combined.
Oh, well, that was simple.
Takako tamer.
Inukai and Fumi had something to say.
Look, I'm not a beastmaster. She's just simple as an animal.
Yo, private combos during work go against protocol. Or are you planning to stay late and cash in on the overtime, huh?
3 pairs of eyes shifted to Takako.
You know what? I defend my voice choice for Takako.
Yeah.
She's a little bit of a shit.
Yeah.
I love her.
Well, I suppose that's it for today.
Oh.
I'll be leaving then. I'm talking to myself, apparently.
As the lights began to turn on in the corridors, Inukai left the office with his bag and jacket in hand. Fumi had a personal errand to run, so she left at the usual time.
Ah,
Takako opened the door to the office shortly after Inukai had left.
where'd Inukai go?
He just left. Did you need him for something?
Nope.
Takako returned to her desk and sat down on her chair.
You're just about done, right?
Yes. All the program windows on my monitor had already been closed.
Yeah, they're all using computers, right? And they're like
Big
still the
CRT.
chonky boys.
Yeah.
Right?
In the beige, too.
In the beige. Yeah, okay. So I'm a late 90s.
It's pretty late, so I guess it'd be too much of a pain to go out with the curry plan. Want to eat out somewhere? We're so busy this month, I couldn't even spend almost any of my money.
I suppose you're right. We can go. Takako stood up, flashing a smile.
I'll switch the lights off. You just take care of the lock.
All right. Takako disappeared beyond the door. I locked the windows as well as the door to the kitchen. Then I pulled down the blinds, too. As I flipped the light switch near the entrance, the room was swallowed by darkness. All the electronic devices were safely turned off. I could only hear the buzzing of the fridge from the kitchen. I left the office, locked the doors from outside, and continued down the dark corridor, illuminated only by a set of dim LED lights. Takako was waiting for me in the car by the entrance. I opened the door and sat in the front seat next to her.
Hey.
Takako spoke up as I arrived.
So, you decided on a place yet?
Oh no, that's
So, decided on a place yet?
Of course. Are you okay with Western? They can't believe they let me behind one of these things.
Seeing my nod, Takako started up the car. It moved so smoothly I couldn't even tell she was changing gears.
What was that phone call in the afternoon all about?
Mr. Sasaki from the Tinners has apparently conquered another mountain. Takako halted the car just before the white stop line. After looking to the left and the right, she turned onto the main street, leaving our alley behind.
Car safety is no joke. Isn't mountain climbing getting a bit too much for the guy, given his age?
I'd say so, which is why I asked the university's mountain climbing club to accompany him.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I had an errand to run back on campus, so I figured why not.
Wait,
Did we swap
I
again?
think we swapped, because that was Takako.
As the traffic light turned green, the line of cars began to edge forward again.
Man, this whole thing where we swap voices is starting to get weird.
So is this me then?
I think that makes that you, yeah.
How did you even come up with an idea like that?
Remember when we talked about the Alps the other day? How you can go there and hire a local instructor who will help you carry your bags and build tents for like 500 yen or whatever?
Ah, that does ring a bell. Takako, with her hands still glued to the wheel, leaned slightly forward to confirm the neighboring traffic lane. There weren't many cars on the road, leaving more than enough space for us. Takako checked the side mirror and changed traffic lanes after signaling.
Did you see them, the little small light on the side there? Just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time I met him, Mr. Sasaki was going on about how much of a shame it was that Japan had no service like that.
Hmm.
And when I talked to him over the phone, he told me how happy he was to have finally gotten a chance to climb that thing, while also making new friends in the process.
That's nice to hear. The slight swaying of the car felt pleasantly sleep-inducing.
Sashi?
What?
I mentioned this before, but I think we should increase the number of departments in our office.
Even though it's only the 4 of us.
It's precisely why. Right now, no one really thinks much about the differences in their duties. If we get stumped by something, someone else just comes in to help out. But now that we get more offers, everyone's forced to stay overtime. I think we should start defining clear roles for everyone. Then we'll be able to tell exactly what's holding us back and what could be improved.
So what kind of roles did you have in mind?
I think we should continue what we're already doing for the most part. You as manager, Fumi as accountant. Meanwhile, me and Inukai should concentrate more on business side of things. I should be in the first department of design doing planning and development, while Inukai should be in the second department, mainly taking care of orders and dealing with clients.
What about the clients you've been managing until now?
Possible, I'd like him to take over. Head of the second department, Inukai should have complete authority over everything client-related. He said he wanted more freedom, and I get the feeling he'd be up for it. And if we're gonna get bigger in the future, we'll be able to increase the amount of people in any of the departments. At one point, we can hire someone to take over your management duties if you want. Since I don't need to deal with customers anymore, I'll get more free time as well. That works out well, more time for trips and our hobbies and all the fun stuff.
I'm starting to see what your main objective is.
Life is about more than work, okay? Well, duh. All I care about is having fun with you. Recall telling you that when I quit my last job.
I suppose you did. I closed my eyes, remembering how we ended up quitting our previous jobs.
So, in the previous segment, when talking with the doctor, Sachi had mentioned that there had been a economic crash recently. When she was having that conversation.
Yeah.
Would that make that? When did Japan have an economic crash around this time period? If this is
In the
like,
90s, right? Wasn't it early 90s?
Was there one in the early 90s? Because this doesn't feel like early 90s. This feels like late 90s now. And this feels like before that crash. I guess we could figure out when that was, and that could help us try triangulate where this is in time here, but regardless.
Going independent after having saved some money was mainly Takako's idea. She might seem a bit of a scatterbrain from time to time, but her ability to plan for the future far exceeded mine.
Turns out, when you know what you want, and what you want is to party as often as possible, you get really good at optimizing for it. I don't mind if you sleep.
My head nodded as the car rolled over a bump in the road. I straightened my back. I'll stay awake. I glanced out the window and saw the neon lights of the radio tower gleaming in the distance. There were more cars on the road than before.
Oh, are you sleeping?
Just a little bit. Takako checked the side mirror, then turned the wheel to the left. I could feel the slight onset of centrifugal force press me against the seat. As our car entered the new road, it began soundlessly speeding up.
Working overtime so much lately.
This week will be the last, I promise.
So it'll take some time before we get anything else this big again, huh?
Yeah. Giving an absent-minded reply, I gazed at the orange lights through the windshield. I leaned against my seat, narrowing my eyes.
You are tired, aren't you?
Takako made a faint smile, observing from the corner of her eyes. How far are we?
We should be there in about 10 minutes, I think. Will you take that nap after all?
I might not wake up if I give in now.
You want to listen to some music or something?
Takako reached out toward the audio panel. I'm not in the mood right now.
Oh, you don't like Hamzaki? Alright.
I feel like if we turned on the radio, it would clash with the non-diegetic jams.
Oh, you can hear those too? I thought that was just me.
Takako returned her hands to the wheel.
Hey, does it sound like do you hear the other voices too? Like the ones that say aloud everything I'm saying, but make it in a really shitty voice? It sounds nothing like me.
I won't fall asleep if we talk.
Alright, want to hear a scary story?
Maybe some other time.
Oh.
Takako heaved a contemplative groan.
How about a story about my adventures overseas?
I was there too, remember?
Well, what was our first trip again?
Taiwan.
Oh, that's right.
Our plane landed in Taipei and we took a bus straight to our hotel. Did you forget?
Outside it felt like you were in a sauna, but the interior of the bus was freezing cold, right?
My sweat dried up in an instant.
Where did we go first?
I think we first went to a convenience store. We bought an instant camera. I remember you kept going on and on about how they had so many convenience stores around.
That weird juice we bought? Turns out it was strawberry-flavored toothpaste.
We also went to the Kingdom of the Little People.
There's this jet coaster spinning at an insane speed, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Picked a side seat, so I thought I'd get crushed when he fell on me.
I told you I didn't want to get on.
But it was fun. What else did we do?
Feeling my eyelids grow heavier, I finally closed them.
Hello? Did I get you embarrassed?
I felt too drowsy to even open my mouth. I couldn't even make out what she was saying anymore.
Oh, you fall asleep?
Takako still seemed to be talking.
It was sure fun. I hope we can go again sometime.
Clank, clank. I opened my eyes as my seat jerked violently. The lights inside the train fell dark for a moment, but soon returned to normal. Realizing that I felt cold, I fixed the collar of my thick cardigan. The night train was almost completely devoid of passengers. There was only one family sitting diagonally across from me that boarded the train at the same station as I did. Trails of raindrops trickled down the window behind them in the opposite direction the train was moving.
I want a chopsticks toy, Mommy.
The boy with the hoodie turned to the man who was most likely his father.
Chopsticks?
Oh, chopstick? I never heard of a toy like that.
Oh, my classmates have it. I asked Santa to get me one for Christmas.
Oh, I see. What do these chopsticks look like exactly?
The boy made an odd shape with his hands. The rain grew fiercer by the minute, brushing away against the windows in a wave-like pattern. I saw a town in the distance, its streets distorted as I looked at them through the rain-soaked windows. A heavy storm cloud, blocking out even the moonlight, loomed over the cityscape, covering it in darkness. I realized I could see myself reflected in the window. Brushing the hair out of my face, I glanced down at the book resting on my knees. After the boy and his father had gotten off the train at the next station, and the radio blur had passed between the scene transition, I was left alone in the silence. I raised my face to look at the fogged-up window behind the now empty seats.
Sup, bitch?
The lights of the town grew dimmer, and in the dark and distorted reflection of the train interior, I thought I saw the hazy figure of Takako sitting next to me.
Finger guns.
I looked to my side, but the seat was empty. As I returned my gaze to the window, all I saw was my own lone self sitting in the empty train car.
So, one thing I do appreciate about this game is that it is, you know, building off of the common trope of like, oh, like someone is clearly not well and are imagining people there with them. But it also isn't hiding that fact from the audience. Discovering that isn't part of
figuring out what's going on here. That's part of the setup.
Mm-hmm. Stepping into the living room, I could see the cloudy morning sky through the window, its canvas complemented by a multitude of buildings towering in the distance, like they were an elaborate bar graph. I flipped the switch on the wall, leaving only the lamp on the nightstand on. A groan escaped my lips as I felt the cold in the room. I lifted off a paperback from the shelf below the phone. I bought the thing shortly before my business trip at a bookstore near the station. After making myself comfortable on the sofa next to the window, I swiped off the dust from the book I had just picked up and began reading from the page that had my bookmark. Yet, after only a few or so pages, I had to return to the first page again. I went at it again, skimming through the parts I understood on my first go, turning pages with one hand while adjusting my glasses with the other. That somewhat loosened metallic part of my working/reading/computer glasses turned with a low creak. The washing machine I turned on before coming into the room let out a loud beep just as I was about halfway done with the book. I closed the book and went to pick up my laundry. The orange hue of the morning sky entered my vision through the window as I rose from the sofa. By the time I finished hanging the last of my clothes, the white shirt of my work outfit, the sun that was only slowly peeking from the horizon when I started had risen high into the sky. A stray gust of wind drifted in through the window, making my laundry flutter like the many legs of some octopus-like being. As I gave Takako's shirt on the hanger a few pats, my hand hit something hard around the vicinity of the breast pocket. I slid my fingers into it and pulled out a wet business card. I turned it over, but the name was too washed out to read. In the end, I returned to my room and flipped the thing into the trash can. Inhaling a lungful of air, I glanced at my paperback, still resting on the sofa, and then the fridge, before my gaze finally settled on the calendar hanging on the wall. An illustration of an autumn landscape decorated its current page, right below the name of the month. More specifically, it displayed a post-harvest field split apart by a long road in the middle. The road itself was flanked by trees on both sides, their fallen leaves covering the ground with spots of orange and yellow. The hands of the wall clock next to the calendar completely overlapped. I rubbed my right shoulder with my left hand and continued to the kitchen. For breakfast, I whipped up some scrambled eggs with salad. Once I had finished eating it, I began cleaning my apartment. First, I separated the boxes in the corridor into things I should keep, things I should throw away, and things I should send to Takako's family. I brushed the dust off one of the boxes I decided to send. I grabbed a magic marker from the living room and popped off its cap. Looking carefully at a postcard I took from the bundle near the phone, I wrote the address of her house on the front of the box, and mine on the back. Before taping the box shut, I slipped in a letter I wrote for her family. It was an apology for being so late to send it. As I finished packing, I returned to the living room and phoned the delivery service, booking them for the earliest possible time. After placing the phone back into its place, I turned around and noticed the boxes, all separated into categories of what should be left here and what should be sent away. Not a single box had been marked to be thrown away. Things I couldn't figure out uses for, I instantly discarded, while the rest went back into their boxes. By the end of it, I didn't have enough items to fill even a single box. I picked up the scissors and packing tape from the floor. Is this...
Oh, is this everything?
Yes, thank you very much. As the middle-aged man carried the last of my boxes with his broad arms into the elevator, a younger and taller man handed me the receipt. The younger man gave me a brief bow and hurried away to the elevator that the older man was keeping open for him. Once I saw them leave, I locked my door and returned to the living room. Placing my wallet in the bamboo basket, I heaved a brief sigh. I glanced at my feet to see the rays of the sun almost reaching them. After directing a brief glance at the clock on the wall, I stepped onto the balcony and touched the denim panties on the hanger to check if they had dried. As I gazed outside, I spotted the balcony of the mansion to my left. The futon that was there when I was hanging my own laundry had since disappeared. I collected my clothes and closed the balcony door behind me. I sat down next to the mountain of clothes and started folding them. It felt somewhat cold in the apartment, even after closing the windows, but the sunlight filtering in from outside warmed me up a little.
That certainly seems like she was cleaning up after Takako disappeared.
Yeah. After folding the jackets, I separated the clothespins from the underwear and folded them as well. I grabbed the matching socks by the cuff and folded one into the other to create a ball. I heard the floor creak as I picked up one black sock and continued to look for the next. As I returned the dark blue sock I picked up by mistake to my mountain of accumulated laundry, the living room door opened. Takako appeared in her pajamas and continued to the kitchen, stifling a yawn with one hand. The non-diegetic music kicked in, which is usually a sign that I need to take my pills. I followed her with my gaze until she disappeared behind the corner. I continued staring at the wall that Takako vanished behind for a couple of seconds when her head suddenly popped into view again.
Yo, what's up, Beb? We got anything to eat?
No.
I'm hungry.
Takako gave her belly a light pat. It's way past lunchtime. You'll have to manage until dinner.
But do we have any snacks?
No.
Ugh.
With that, Takako disappeared back into the kitchen. I could hear the sounds of the opening drawers.
No way. There's really nothing here. Did you already eat all the cookies in the jar?
When did we even have such a thing?
Whatever. Guess I'll just eat straight sugar or something.
Hey, I'll start preparing dinner after I'm done with the laundry, okay?
What are you gonna make?
I absent-mindedly checked the calendar and the clock on the wall. I don't know. What do you want?
Sukiyaki.
We don't have enough soy sauce.
Then I'll go buy some.
Takako emerged from the kitchen holding a cup of barley tea.
Anything else you need?
Soy sauce and meat for sukiyaki. I can manage the rest.
I'm not seeing any shirataki either.
Takako opens the fridge and looked inside. That too.
That all?
Guess I could also use some detergent.
Gotcha.
Takako opens the living room door and disappeared beyond it.
Thanks, Beb. Love ya.
The door closed behind her with a thud. I could see the orange rays of the evening sun reflected on the polished wood. The room fell completely silent, with only the distant cawing of ravens from outside reaching my ears.
Sachiko's not doing well, is she?
Seems like it. My reading was interrupted by the sound of the rice cooker signaling that the rice was done. I slid the bookmark into my paperback and left it on the sofa. Stepping into the kitchen, I opened the fridge. I grabbed all the eggs from the holders on the top shelf of the door, then reached for the oil and a bowl in the bottom cabinet. After cracking the eggs on the side of the bowl, I discarded their shells in the garbage basket below the sink. I picked up a pair of chopsticks and parted the two pieces ever so slightly, then gently began moving them back and forth to mix the white with the yolk. As I was doing that, I heard the front door behind me unlock. I heard the floor creak, and the living room door opened.
Oh. Hey, I'm back.
Takako left the shopping bag on the table and pulled up a nearby chair to sit down. Welcome home. Leaving the bowl with my mixed egg, I moved to the kitchen and checked the contents of the shopping bag Takako brought back. I found a pack of sukiyaki meat with a bargain sales sticker on it, some chrysanthemum greens, shirataki. What about the soy sauce?
Should be at the bottom.
I found it under the shirataki bag. I thanked her and she responded by raising her arm. Once I got out everything I needed from the bag, I brought them to the kitchen. I left the frying pan on the stove. I turned its knob 3 times until the flame lit up and drained the oil from the frying pan with a kitchen towel as I heated it up. There was a beep, followed by the sound of the TV. As the probability of rain remains high, we recommend taking an umbrella in the event of going out. It was the weather forecast.
It's gonna rain tomorrow.
Huh. I reached out to the bottle of mint suyu on the cabinet and dripped a few drops of it into my egg bowl before stirring the mixture with my chopsticks again. Once I was finished with that, I spilled about half of what was in the bowl into the frying pan. A sharp sizzling sound followed. I rotated the frying pan so that the beaten eggs would cover its entire surface, then popped the bubbles that would appear on it with my chopsticks. A delicious smell began to fill the entire kitchen. I could hear the sound of changing TV channels from the living room.
Are you frying eggs over there?
Takako momentarily stopped fiddling with the remote control. Yes. The eggs in the frying pan started to congeal. I folded the whole thing in half with my chopsticks. I drained the oil from the newly opened area with a kitchen towel and, after moving the folded egg to it, drained the other half as well. Finally, I unfolded the egg and spilled the rest of the bowl's contents on it.
Haha, sounds like we're having a feast tonight.
You're about the only one who gets this excited over a sukiyaki and a fried egg.
Well, I love fried eggs. Who doesn't love fried eggs?
Fair enough. As the egg began to harden, I folded it again, while also making some minor adjustments to its shape with my spatula. I'm pretty sure this is a dream, though.
Huh? Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Why'd you say that? I see. Well, I don't care as long as I get my food.
As I sat up from the sofa, I immediately clutched my head in response to a sudden, sharp jolt of pain. I glanced out the window to see the sun already vanishing beyond the horizon and a few stray stars shining in the night sky. My laundry was all neatly folded next to my feet. There was no pot on the dining table in front of the TV, nor any shopping bag on the other table. I stood up and peeked out the living room door to check the boxes. They were indeed gone. I closed the door again and turned around and stuffed my dried clothes into their designated drawers before getting ready to make my second dinner tonight. I closed the window behind my desk to keep the autumn cold out. Upon returning to my desk and glancing at all the documents littering it, I tapped the middle finger of my right hand against the desk surface a number of times. I read through a document and signed it with a pen from the pouch to my right. There was a field for the date next to my name. I looked away from the papers to the wall behind the rest of the office desks. Fixed to it were a round clock and a white board listing our schedules. It contained our names, our whereabouts, the times we'd be leaving the office, and other information. The names listed included Mizuno Sachiko, Oita Fumi, Inukai Takahiko, and Sawatari Annalise. Above Mizuno Sachiko, there was an empty space with traces of Takako's name on it. Fumi, can I get your review on this? I added the date on the whiteboard to the document.
Well, I'm a bit busy right now, but,
Inukai handed a memory stick and a bundle of freshly printed files to Fumi.
Okay, but now we're at the point, now this is at a point where USB drives are in common use.
Yeah,
So I guess that makes this the mid-aughts now?
I guess so. Fumi took out a color sample from her desk.
Oh, what is it? Is this...
That's Inukai handing the memory stick.
Okay, right. So this is Fumi getting the memory stick from
Yeah.
you. Okay. What is it?
It's a poster for the firework festival.
I see. I'll give it a look later. Just leave it there, all right?
Only made a few minor adjustments, so maybe I could just tan it in like that.
Inukai glanced at the paper in his hand.
Are you confident it's okay?
Well, more or less.
Make sure to attach your photo to the thing so everyone knows it's your work and not mine, all right?
I have some extra ID pictures. Can I use them?
Make it look like those vegetable packs you see at the Whole Foods market. You know the ones with pictures depicting the farmer who grew them?
Fumi handed Inukai a pen case with drawing instruments.
Ugh.
I'm getting worried about this. Fumi, can you look at it for him after all?
Yeah, I'm almost done, so I'll make sure to check it today, all right?
I put an end to their game. Inukai gave Fumi's desk, covered in plush toys and textbooks, a quick glance and placed the paper there.
Hey! Hey! Don't put it on my plushies!
Fumi lifted the paper off the top of a little round sheet, then put it into a plastic case that served as a scaffold for a pile of textbooks on her desk. I could see Takako's barren desk beyond it. There was only an empty glass jar on it, aside from a few papers intended for the new employee taking over her job. A bell, similar to that of a school's, reverberated in the room.
Well, I'll go outside.
Inukai left the office. I opened a file and, after picking out a few colored pictures from it, slipped them into a brown envelope alongside the documents I had signed. Fumi stood up as I was jotting down the zip code, seemingly having finished her job early.
Did you bring your lunch today?
I'm sorry, I couldn't wake up early this morning.
I see.
I'll drop by a convenience store on my way back. Would you like something?
No, I'm good.
I see. I opened the bottom drawer, stuffed the envelope inside, then locked it. I pulled out my wallet from my handbag, resting next to the drawer, and stood up. I'll be off then.
Hey, later.
I addressed Fumi as she was on her way to the kitchen. The bell affixed to the corner of the cafe's door gave off a chime. I sat down at the counter and ordered a 1-coin lunch. As I absent-mindedly observed the steward in a black and white suit prepare a coffee, someone rose from their seat at the back of the restaurant and stood behind me.
Sachi.
I turned around to see Narasaki raising her hand in greeting. You were here?
I was waving at you when you came in.
I didn't notice at all.
So I've seen. I was starting to wonder if this was some elaborate game on your part.
I'm not into things like that. Narasaki placed the saucer with her coffee on the counter and sat down next to me.
What did you order?
Lunch. Did you eat already?
Well, I was enjoying a cake.
A cheesecake with green tea.
No, I tried something new today.
You come here a lot?
Yes, I do. I told you this place was close to my clinic.
Narasaki crossed her legs and beckoned for the steward, ultimately ordering another cup of coffee. You came here before lunchtime?
I came about 30 minutes ago. I finished my morning shift early. I guess that's usually how things go, anyway.
The steward came over and placed 2 cups of coffee on the counter, one for Narasaki and one for me. Thank you. Narasaki passed my cup to me. Before long, I received the salad part of my lunch set as well.
Do you know what a whirlwind is?
Why have I heard this word? Did you meme about this word?
I memed about this word when I
Okay.
was playing the game the first time for a little bit.
Okay, I was gonna say, I had it instant fucking like, what
like
is this? Why do I know this word?
It's like a funya rinpa. You ever heard of one of those?
Of course, everyone respects the Funya-rinpa. Narasaki addressed me just as I stuck my wooden fork into the salad. Fuwari what?
Whirlwind.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't have, would you?
What is it?
Even I've only heard about it for the first time last week. One of our patients was crying that he had lost his whirlwind.
You should have asked him about it. I placed a forkful of salad into my mouth. I could feel the taste of the traditional dressing and the onions spreading across my tongue.
It's common practice to change the subject when a patient starts talking about something strange, so as not to encourage their delusions.
So it was just something he made up in his mind.
Well, the same patient came to the clinic today and was overjoyed about having finally found his whirlwind. Curiosity was gnawing away at me, but all he could do was say that I was happy for him and end the conversation there.
Nagasaki took a sip of her still steaming coffee. Whirlwind.
Yep, whirlwind.
I put a slice of tomato in my mouth. It melted in my mouth with a cool sensation and a hint of sweetness. I'm afraid I have no idea what it could be.
But it doesn't sound that weird to say, does it? Like, it gives you the feeling that you might have heard the word somewhere. I'd say it's entirely possible it might have come up in some picture book or something.
Nagasaki placed a palm on her forehead, making an excited smile. I don't get it. Do you get a lot of these things at work?
Absolutely. When you work with these kinds of patients, you tend to hear an unusual word here and there, like a beam surfer.
What's that?
This patient would apparently wake up laughing in the middle of the night, but come morning he could no longer remember what cracked him up to that extent. But since he was laughing that much, he figured it must have been something hilarious. So one time he left a pen and paper next to his pillow before hitting the sack. He woke up laughing as usual, but jotted down everything before going back to sleep so he could remember. Then morning came, and all he found on the paper were those 2 words.
Makes me wonder what was so funny about it.
I don't know, nor did he. Although now that I've said it aloud. Beam surfer.
As I finished swallowing the last tomato, the steward brought the main dish, a sandwich with smoked salmon and swarenben.
Oh no, it's spreading.
It was separated into 3 pieces to make it easier to eat. I wiped my fingers with a napkin, picked up one of the pieces, and put it into my mouth. Then I took a gulp of the coffee, which had now cooled off just enough to be comfortable to drink. Feeling the warmth of the cup with my palms, I glanced beyond the counter to see the steward washing some dishes. Nagasaki added a few spoons of sugar to her coffee. After I finished eating lunch, I told Nagasaki about the dream I had yesterday.
So you made dinner despite knowing it was a dream?
Yes. Nagasaki chuckled. I got a little excited, I guess. I haven't spoken to her in ages.
Well, good for you, but as I said, it's best not to encourage this kind of thing.
Nagasaki gave me a brief glance. I suppose that's true.
Otherwise, it might end up interfering with your everyday life, right?
I know that, but doesn't it make for an interesting story?
It might also severely disorient you.
I'm aware of that too. Nagasaki stuffed her hands in her pockets and leaned closer to me. Do you have any medicine that would make it go away?
Why not drop by my clinic sometime? I could prescribe something for you.
I'll think about it.
No need to be scared. It's the kind of place that's frequented by housewives when they have no one to talk to.
Nagasaki spun around in her chair and stood up.
I think I should be going.
All right. Once Nagasaki had left, I finished my coffee, paid for everything, and exited the cafe myself. I glanced up at the narrow patch of gray sky visible between the buildings surrounding me, noticing more and more clouds scattered about it. I checked my wristwatch, then crossed the street and entered a convenience store. After I picked up a drink and some gum to keep me awake, I returned to the office.
Huh.
New characters popped up on the monitor with each new tap of the keyboard. White letters on the black backdrop of a CRT screen.
Or a brawn tube.
Sun rays fell in stripes on my desk through the slits of the blinds. My slender fingers, the nails on their ends, all well kempt, were tapping away at the keyboard, following a rhythmic pace. At times, I could hear the passing of cars and nearby trains in the distance. I can't... I've been trained to hear the train sound is incredibly ominous, and I can't remember what game or anime trained me to find it really ominous.
A train sound,
That
huh?
specific one.
That kind of train sound?
That exact...
There's one... Is there one with like an approaching train that... with that specific sound. I can think of a couple with scenes where people get hit by trains, but I can't think of anywhere it's like
Yeah.
a refrain. Because this is something that's you're thinking of something that's come up a bunch, right? Not just like a one scene thing.
I feel like it.
Yeah, I can't think of anywhere it would be something like a refrain or something like that.
I saved the presentation file and paused to rest my hands a little. Pushing my chair away from the desk, I extended my legs and stretched my back. I surveyed the outdoor scenery through the blinds. Spots of white clouds could be seen drifting along the blue sky between the towering buildings. The afternoon rain that accumulated on the asphalt sprang into the air each time a passing car rolled into it. I pushed my chair back, returning my silent gaze to the monitor. The flickering CRT screen displayed the particulars of a presentation detailing our company's restructuring. As I was confirming the slides, Fumi emerged from the kitchen. She placed a steaming cup on my desk.
There you go. Have some tea, why don't you?
Thanks.
Hey, have you finished already?
Fumi looked at my monitor. Yes, the deadline was tomorrow, but it seems like I'll be able to finish it today.
In that case, we might finally be able to take a break on the weekend, huh?
Yeah. I'd appreciate a little change of pace.
I know.
Or was that Fumi
I don't know.
saying that she'd appreciate a little change of pace?
I collected the documents in a binder, which I then placed in the top drawer of my desk. I placed all the scattered writing utensils back into the pen holder. The hands of the wall clock indicated that it was a few minutes before midnight. Out of the 4 other office desks, Fumi's was the only one yet to be cleaned up. Inukai went home before we started our late-night overtime, while Fumi was currently in the bathroom. It was dark as pitch beyond the windows. My office phone rang, and I promptly picked up the receiver. Hello?
Oh, I'm locking up the building in 10 minutes. You're gonna need the lights for the night.
It was the night watchman. The office door opened, and Fumi came into the room. I'm leaving. What about you, Fumi?
You know what? Me too.
I gave her a nod and removed my hand from the receiver. We're leaving right now.
All right, don't forget to lock the doors.
Of course. I placed the receiver back to its place. Let's go.
Catching the last train could be tough. You need a lift?
Fumi tapped her skirt pocket to draw attention to her car keys. No, I'm good. I might need to drop by another place first.
Well, I see. All right.
The inside of the taxi lit up as the car in the opposing lane came closer, then fell dark again as soon as it passed us. I could see all sorts of small lights beyond the window. I leaned back against my seat, heaving a sigh. I briefly regarded the driver's graying hair before shifting my gaze back to the window. Juxtaposed with the multitude of lights beaming from the skyscrapers and the rows of cars speeding past, I could see the reflection of a positively exhausted woman. Upon closer inspection, the woman's face, now distorted in apparent disgust, reminded me of the pictures I'd seen of my mother.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. We seem to have hit a traffic jam. This could take a while.
The driver said so. I see. I narrowed my eyes to more thoroughly examine the driver through the back mirror. However, the visor of his hat hid his eyes as he slightly tilted his head down. I unlocked the front door with an audible click. I'm back. My voice was swallowed by the darkness of the corridor. Entering the living room, I flipped on the light switch and continued to the kitchen, where I opened the fridge and helped myself to a jug of tea. I placed the cup on the silver tray, but as I turned around to return the jug to the fridge, my vision was enveloped by darkness, forcing me to lean on the fridge door. As I hung my head, waiting for my eyesight to return to normal, the abrupt sensation of the very floor trying to swallow me whole sent me to my knees. After a while, my vision began to gradually normalize. It had been a while since I got a dizzy spell that bad. I couldn't help but chuckle at it all. With my vision still occasionally blinking out, I felt some of the strength in my legs return. This prompted me to try and stand up, but I ended up losing my balance and hitting my head against the fridge. As the fit finally passed, I stood up, placed the jug of tea that I had managed not to spill in the fridge, and returned to the living room to get changed.
And that's... Yeah! So what do you think so far?
I don't know.
There's a whole lot of different threads being tugged on all at once here.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't even gotten all of the setup just yet, which is kind of impressive to me. I didn't realize how long this part went for in the middle here, but yeah, I know, right? Either way, we'll see you next time with more SeaBed. I hope you are all enjoying this, because I know I'm really enjoying this a lot.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoy the perfectly normal Yuri. Right? It's gonna be great. There's no problems here. Don't worry about it.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.